Hello, everybody. My name is Becky Draper, and I'm a Vedic astrologer and Ayurveda health coach. And I help women align with the rhythms and cycles in nature. And today we're going to talk about the moon and one of the best ways for women to balance their hormones and take care of their psychological well being is to align with the phases and cycles of the moon. So, let's get right to it. When the moon is new, so we're going to have a new moon on April 17th. And when the moon is new, this is when we're like receiving the least amount of energy from the moon. And so, because we don't have all of that moon energy, and the moon represents our mind and our emotions, we might be feeling a little bit more depleted, a little bit more disturbed. And this is pretty typical during a new moon that we tend to just feel a little bit out of balance. And some of us can see this as like, oh, this is that time where I don't feel as good and I don't like it. But in Vedic astrology, we look at this as an opportunity because it's an opportunity for us to allow for some of those disturbances to come to the surface so that we can face the shadow. And it's through facing that shadow that we're able to release and then have a new start. And that's really what the new moon is about. It's about releasing and ending and then the new beginning or that new cycle. And so when we are at the dark moon, which is just a couple days before the new moon, this is when we want to do that shadow work and when our mind will probably be the most disturbed. And so instead of, trying to like make a bunch of plans, see if you can create a little bit more space in your life to be alone and spend a little bit of time like journaling and meditating and just doing some of those things that we do for self-care that can really help our mental well-being. But also, if you are familiar with shadow work, it's a great time to do that. And if you're not, there's tons of videos out there on it, or you could also seek out a therapy session with some shadow work during this time. But this is when our mind tends to be more disturbed. So it's a great time and a great opportunity to like dig into some of the things that we might be holding on to that we're not totally aware of. And then we can release those things. And then once we've released those things, then when we get to the new moon, this is when we want to think about what we're going to start. And so we don't actually start it on the new moon date. We want to give that energy a little bit of time. So it's a good time to meditate and journal and think about what you want to start and kind of start preparing the seeds. And then a few days after the new moon is when we want to actually start and put that energy forward in manifesting that part of our life. And so whenever we're aligning with the new moon, we want to think of it as a time of self-connection and maybe spending a little bit more time in our inner world and taking care of our mental health. And then when the moon goes into Aries, so this is going to happen again, I think I mentioned this before, but on April 17th, and it will be in the nakshatra of Ashwini. So Aries is the first zodiac sign, and Ashwini is the first nakshatra. So we're working with both energies being at the beginning of a cycle. And Aries represents the first house, and this is the house of the self. And so Aries is where we're kind of selfish and where we kind of put our own needs before others. And this is a really good energy for many of us, especially as women, because we tend to put like our own needs last and we tend to like stuff down the things that we actually want and tell ourselves like, no, we can't have that thing. That's asking too much, or that's too selfish, or like, you want too much in this life and you're being greedy. We'll tell ourselves these things in order to, shut down our desires. But this energy in Aries is where we're actually more likely to be selfish and to like listen to what the heart wants and actually act on the things that we really want. And instead of telling ourselves no, we might actually be a little bit more selfish and say, no, I'm going to focus on this thing for myself first, and then I'll get to everything else. And so this is a great energy for women to start something that they've been wanting to start for a long time. And so during that dark moon, this is a great time to connect deeper to the heart and think about like what the heart actually desires. We are used to telling the heart no. And after we tell the heart no for so long, the heart stops speaking up. And so takes a little bit of effort and care to go back into the heart and tell the heart yes. And so Aries energy is a big yes to the heart's deepest desires. And so I hope during this time you're able to spend a little bit of time connecting to your heart and really listening to the deepest desires. And then lastly, we'll talk about Ashwini. So the nakshatras tell a karmic story, and Ashwini being that first nakshatra, it represents the duality of life and like the medicine of life. It's also like Ayurveda medicine. So it's a beautiful nakshatra that's all about our journey through this cycle of our lives and our reincarnation here on earth. And that first nakshatra is all about the duality of life and how when we come here, we're going to have to go through really great experiences and then really hard experiences. And the reason for this is because we can't truly understand all of these great things until we also understand some of the darker things. And so we have to be able to know the dark in order to really see and understand the light. And that's really what Ashwini is. It's telling us like this is the medicine of life, is going through all of the experiences and not pushing any experience away, allowing yourself to experience the dark and allowing yourself to experience the light is all part of that deeper medicinal purpose that we're here. And so it's a really good reminder that nothing is good or bad. Everything is neutral. It's the meaning that we place on it that makes it good or bad. And some of us, we can all like think of experiences in our life that were like some of the hardest times of our life. And then we can also usually notice that those are the times in our lives where we grew the most and we got the most nectar from life was through some of our most challenging experiences. And it's not to say that we want to chase challenges or bring pain into our life. It's obviously we're going to try and make the best life we can and bring as much joy and beauty as we can and try to see as much joy and beauty as we can. But we also don't want to like do that spiritual bypassing thing where we're like, I'm not going to think anything negative. I'm just going to be positive. Everything needs to be great, because sometimes the most challenging experiences in our lives are the things that create some of the biggest growth and shape us into like who we really are. And so my challenge for you during this new moon is to spend a little bit of time with yourself, connect deeper to your heart, and plant the seeds that you want to plant and that you want to tend to over the next year, and be selfish about it, and then be open to all of the experiences that come along the way. And if you want to get your chart done, I would love to take a deeper look. You can send me a message and I'll see you in the next video.